Hola, it's Kaipacho with a weekly Pele report, and this is for June 29th of 2022. The moon is in Cancer, water, and here is a mountain stream, which will come in handy later in today's report. She stays in Cancer through today, but then by tomorrow, Thursday, she goes into Leo, the fiery lion. Cancer, Leo, new moon phase. She's definitely waxing from a tiny, tiny, tiny little crescent. You know, she's going to be growing. And we're not going to have the first quarter until next Wednesday, next Pele report, but she's going to be moving through Leo, and she's going to trine Jupiter on Friday, square Uranus on Saturday, oppose Saturn on Saturday. Then she's going to go into Virgo, trine Mars on Sunday. Because what? Because Mars goes into Taurus. Yes, indeed. Mars in Taurus. Monday, same day as Mercury goes into Cancer. We have two personal planets changing signs this week. You're going to feel a little change in the energy. I can't wait to jump in this frickin' river as soon as I'm done with this report. Look at the curly whirlies. This is, the swirls of water just like make those natural basins over there. And that is where the Maidu Indians or the native indigenous peoples of this area would crunch their acorns. There's tons of oak trees and acorns around here and stuff. And that was like their major food. And the river would help them. Just such a beautiful example of humanity working in harmony with what nature has provided us. But let me just get back to whatever I was talking about. Aspects. Yeah, well, before Mars goes into Taurus, he's going to square Pluto. It's a 90-degree square. It's the first quarter square. It has to do with activating, what came around with the Mars conjunct Pluto, and that was March 2nd. Think back, what were you doing March 2nd? Because now I'm going to talk about power and force, and this is Mars and Pluto. So, in the meantime, what else? Mercury trines Saturn, squares Neptune on Saturday, inconjuncts Pluto on Sunday, before Mercury goes into Cancer to join the Sun and Black Moon Lilith. Okay. Got to take a big breath here. I'm a little rattled because I came this close to a freaking rattlesnake. I'm on the freaking path, climbing over these rocks, man. And I look down like right at my foot, there's a good sized freaking rattler, man. And I freaked out, which I should not do. I mean, right now it's like snake energy. It's powerful energy. It could be because what? I'm wearing my snake skin. I mean, of all the days I decide to wear my snake skin bracelet, I get a snake threatening me on the freaking path, and so I freak out and I jump up and I go running away from it down the rocks towards the river. My Birkenstock flies off, falls off the rock, down. Thank God there was another rock just before the river, man. And my shoe landed on that rock and it didn't go into the river because you can see, I don't know if you can see, this river is going by fast. My freaking she would be gone. Even worse than that, if I was, and this is what I want to be talking about today, the unconscious. Consciousness and unconsciousness. The moon, lunacy. I've got my dark side of the moon t-shirt on today here. Cancer, ruled by the moon. Moon people. Reminds me of Frank Zappa. But anyway. Yeah, it's what it boils down to, and I didn't really want to get into this immediately, but I will, because I'm, just check this out. Well, okay, I've been preparing. I'm actually doing a Zoom call interview with Matthias, the guy that the psychologist from Belgium that came up with, is talking about this mass formation. July 11th, I'm going to be doing that, and I'll record it and let you know more about it. But I'm preparing a little bit about it because I really feel like the mass formation has a lot to do with what? Wetiko. So I'm checking out this book by Paul Levy. Okay, very super powerful, because let's face it, there is no difference between the mass formation, the mass psychosis that is happening, and Wetiko. One and the same, but they're framed differently. They're from different perspectives. One is a psychological perspective, and the other is a native indigenous people's perspective. And the native indigenous people's perspective really takes a lot more of the spirit into account and talks about evil and talks about this Wetiko as being this force of evil. And this force of evil is like the snake. It's like the serpent energy, the world serpent. Okay, whether it's Marduk, the serpent that always, tried to swallow the sun and kill it, with the Egyptians, or in the Norse mythology, the world serpent, wrapped around and ate its own tail. There's this whole energy of this. It's at the bottom and the root. The snake, is on the bottom. Even Lilith. I posted that picture of, Lilith was the, the snake in the garden. And she's in Cancer now. And we're looking at this whole kind of serpent energy. And what is this serpent energy? It's this dark eros. It's the dark feminine. It's the dark, deep down inside all of us. I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about the feminine, okay? The yin. Day and night. Yin and yang. Yeah, masculine and feminine. We are all. We are both. I'm going to get more into that. But what it's saying here is, and what Paul is saying is that what's going on now is very powerful, because it is a great awakening. This is the birth of the age of Aquarius. We do need to wake up. We are waking up. And when we are unconscious actions equal destruction. Conscious actions equal construction. We are always functioning and doing and acting in either a constructive way or a destructive way. How about that? Sit with that for a little bit, meditate on that for a little bit. And what this whole virus, this whole bullshit going on right now, we could say it's, I don't want to blame humanity for being overly passive or overly lazy or overly unconscious or overly inactive. But just look at what Carl Jung says, right? The unconscious shadow gets projected out. And the Wetiko is a projected out that actually becomes a reality. We've been asleep through this age of Pisces. We've been largely unconscious, going with the flow, escaping, avoiding, doing this, taking that substance, this, watching the TV, getting on our phones, just kind of like flowing along, like me on the path today, just walking along, la-da-da, oh, it's so beautiful out here. Shh, wake up. Wake up. This is a huge wake up. And we are waking up. And things are changing. We never thought we would see what's going on today. It's very super powerful. And it is a call to be conscious. And this call to be conscious is also a call to action. It is a call to, energy. It is a call to awakened, determined, willful, the healing of the masculine, Chiron in Aries, Jupiter in Aries, Mars finishing its pass through Aries, coming into our power. I talked about it a little bit last week, right? I gave homework, I think, was that, yeah, you have to do something. Oh, baby. And then let's look at power versus force. It's just really amazing. If we go back to ancient times, the ancient philosophies, okay, the Tao, the holy rishis in India, we go back, far back in time. There was this energy, and the root of power in these philosophies was that the earth was created by the dynamis, okay, by the curiosities. There were hierarchical powers of spiritual entities that created this earth, and they were agents of even higher cosmic forces, what the Freemasons call the great architect, source, creator, divine intelligence. And this divine intelligence was, whether it comes through the center of the galaxy, and we're only one of billions of galaxies. So there's also the great attractor, which I like even better. It swallows galaxies. It's around 4 degrees of Libra. You got to check that one out. If you think the galactic center is a black hole, this sucker just light just disappears into it, bends around it. It's an amazing, it swallows galaxies. But I see intelligence comes through this galactic center, and then it's spread out through the galaxy to all the stars, to our sun, and then the intelligence, it's like a step down. Okay, it's like a transformer, right? Step down, step down, step down, high voltage, lower, 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 so that these humans can stand it in their physical bodies, So it's this plasma energy of intelligence, coming all the way from the core, from creator source. This is spiritual power from the sun to us. Versus what now scientists are looking at as explaining everything is that there are just a bunch of different forces. There's the force of gravity, and there's the force of attraction, and the force of repulsion, and the force of this, and the force of that. And it's just a bunch of forces. And explaining, even the artificial intelligence and everything that's going on right now. It's this force and that force, and, we just force things and, manage the forces, and you've got power. It's a corruption. It's a distortion. Okay, it is dangerous. Because what? It's unconscious. It's destructive. They're unconscious of the spiritual reality. And this is what we are about. We are about the union of spirit and matter. So it's being aware of both our physical, emotional, sexual, material bodies and our astral, etheric, spiritual Buddha bodies. And bringing these two together, this is the human experience. And this is this beautiful sun and moon coming around through Cancer. I gotta say, Cancer and Leo are the most personal human signs. The inner child and, that wants to come out in Leo and play. And there's also a certain amount of unconsciousness there also, right? And this unconsciousness breeds fear. So there's a lot of fear here in the emotional body. There's a lot of insecurity. We could say that, Cancer, Leo are probably the most insecure of the signs. Yeah, the 4th and the 5th house. This energy is very, it's midnight down here, in the dark side of the moon. What was I saying? So, the unconscious and the fear leads to a denial or an escape or, an avoidance of dealing with my shadow, with my unconscious, with my fears, with my insecurities. And therefore, I kind of get swallowed by them, and they get projected out into external forms, external authorities. And it goes back to a little bit what I said last week. If you don't do your dishes, somebody's got to do your dishes. Right? If you don't manage your money, somebody's going to come in and manage your money. If you don't create your life, some force, some power is going to come along and create your life. If you don't manage your sexual expression, your sexual expression will be managed. It's like when we are unconscious and we are not masters of our totality, masters of our reality, exercising our spiritual power within, then we are victims. And this is we are coming out of this age of Pisces into this age of Aquarius. Pisces is the sign of the victim, of the martyr, of the passive, accepting and believing and hoping and wishing and dreaming, into Aquarius, which is lightning, third eye, awakened awareness that is completely objective. The bird's eye view, the eagle eye view. This is this Aquarius. And this is our next step. Because let's see what's happening here. In the outside world, and I'm going to put a link to an amazing, excellent article that just kind of goes and mentions everything that's going on with this Wetiko, with this mass psychosis, and where it's leading. And make no mistake, it is leading somewhere, and there are some very conscious, I want to call them entities more than humans or people, driving it. But we want to understand here that we can get lost in the one pole. And here's what Paul Levy says. We can get lost in pessimism. We can get lost in victim. We can get lost in, the outside is real. And this is really happening. This is where we don't create our reality. Okay, we're not actively creating this. We're experiencing, we're victims of some. But what he's speaking of is that it's a dream. It's Maya. This is an illusion. That each of our souls creates exactly what we need to evolve. So we are evolving through this. And I just kind of thought about it, just think of what happened here and what is happening. The expansion of technology. And yes, it's being used, facial recognition. It's being used for, surveillance and, passports and electronic this and lockdown that and, but just think of all the technology that is rapidly being developed. There's computers designing computers. I mean, the artificial intelligence is like, the guy from Google, that says he's got sentient, robots here. I mean, it's really going to town, and it's going to be going even more. So let's think about, what if this was all created, okay, and out of that, just think if there was someone else at the helm, someone else in control, some other people at Davos and the WEF and, running the show and this, that, and the other. Think if there were, spiritually awakened, not greedy, power hungry, grabbing and consuming in a destructive way, and all that Gaia has to offer. But those were replaced with awakened people, which can happen, which probably will happen. We're going to get through this. We're going to move through this. We're going to evolve through this. It's only a question of how much damage and destruction happens prior to the awakening of humanity, which is inevitable. Just as Matthias was talking about, totalitarianism never makes it. It never lasts. It self-destructs. It destroys itself. Because why? Because it's not natural. It's not part of the natural law. It's not part of the law of one. It's not taking into account spirit. It's only looking at the matter and the material. It's materialism in its utmost form. It's the end result of materialism. And Rudolf Steiner talked about the incarnation of Ahriman. Ahriman is this, this spiritual entity that is absolute, ice cold, rock hard, diamond, super intelligent, cold ass material, Satan energy. And so we see this, and this had to happen. This is part of the Earth evolution. And I even looked at the astrology to see how it's going to play out, when it's going to play out, how long it's going to play out, because I got to give a bunch of talks here on my trip. Yeah, I'm going over to Europe. I'm going to be giving a lot of these talks on what the bleep is going on, and it's like, okay, well, what the bleep is going on? I'm kind of pulling it. I'm pulling it all. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. And yeah, it's going to be a little while. It's going to get darker before it gets light. But here's the thing. In the meantime, with Venus moving through Gemini, with Mars coming into Taurus, with Mercury moving into Cancer, what is our role here? Oh, you know what I did? Is on the chart for today, I put the Earth, because somebody said, hey, I don't like it that there's no Earth in these charts. Let's not forget that the astrology charts that I do and most Western astrologers do, the tropical zodiac, even the sidereal zodiac, they do what's called geocentric. So the Earth is the center. So when we look out, okay, the sun moving through Cancer is what? The Earth moving through Capricorn. And this is why the Earth is coming around the bend. It's going to pass up Pluto, right? And we'll have sun opposite Pluto. Then it's going to pass Saturn, and we'll have Sun opposite Saturn. And then it's going to pass through, Pisces, and we're going to have the Sun opposite Neptune. And that's why all these planets are going retrograde, is because the Earth is coming around between them and the Sun, passing them up, like a fast car on the freeway. So now we're really getting into this polarization. Yes, there's been a kind of a unity, and now, it's the Sun, Mercury, Venus, everything is like breaking out. And what it calls for is we want to understand that where this is going, where this is leading to the age of Aquarius. This is our next step. This is Pluto. Pluto is going back and forth. It's going to first enter Aquarius next year. And then it's going to play around for a couple of years before really jumping fully into it. Yeah, by 2024, 2025. And then we've got 20 years until 2044 when Pluto goes into Pisces, of this age of Aquarius. And what is about this is a very intrinsic development where we need to see the human as human and not machine. It's not about merging ourselves with machines and the transhumanism in order to improve ourselves. They're now even talking of artificial babies so that people can raise artificial babies online, save a lot of money, put on their little virtual set, and have this little, and they can control how fast they grow. I mean, it's like what our wildest dreams, are manifesting externally. And what is up to us to do is to internally take hold of our own subconscious, our own lunar forces, our own Cancerian inner child. And we need to be Capricorn, the Earth moving through Capricorn. We need to step up and step into the creative powers, as, the moon has gone through Leo. The sun will be moving into Leo. But here is what I really want to get to is we can also look out on the horizon and say, you know what, there is a great future happening. Because if we just look at it, there was a time period, and I've done a little bit of historical research, but I'm not a historian. But just look at after the last totalitarian, Hitler, the forces of freedom, descended upon and ended the fascist regime of Adolf Hitler. And what arose out of that is a new map of Europe. And those who were being persecuted, the Jews, were given their own place, Israel. They were given so there was a place made for those who were persecuted. You get this? If we go back to the last time Pluto was going through Aquarius and Pisces, that was when, after the Constitution and the rebellion in the 1776, happened. The extermination of the native indigenous peoples of North America occurred. Yeah? The white man just wiped out the red man and red women. Let's be cool here. And put them on reservations. Now we're making FEMA. FEMA's got a few camps that are ready. I mean, you get this idea, Hitler had these camps for the Jews. It's like, there is this kind of separation, but the out of that is a birth of awareness, a birth of consciousness. And this is going to bring an awareness and a consciousness and a new society and a new culture that will be global. We are moving into, Aquarius is global consciousness. So this is not a country like Europe, a conglomerate, a union of countries. This is not just the United States, one country. Now we're doing it on a global level. You see what I'm saying? So there is great reason to believe, to hope, to be optimistic, and to say that this virus is carrying with it this evil dark force is actually a force bringing enlightenment, bringing forth the light. And now here's the final catch. Not to get lost in either one. Not to go into despair by witnessing what is going on. Not by being, hopeful and, optimistic and, it's all going to be good and it's all going to be all right and this is all just, but to not get lost in these polarities, but move to the metaphysical, the meta, not the metaverse, but the metaphysical space, the law of three, that polarities, when in balance, can lead to the pyramid, can lead to a place where I see all potential possibilities and I will not take sides. I will observe. I will step outside of this camp or that camp. This religion, that religion, this belief, that belief, this political party, that political party, this liberal and this the LGBTQ. Look at what's going on now. We have such polarization going on. God, I could talk forever. This Cancer Capricorn is the gender selection axis. It has our karmic history, our family history. Our genetic history is the Cancer Capricorn, Moon, Saturn axis. And you can tell if you've done a recent gender switch by having Pluto or the Moon's nodes in Cancer Capricorn or the 4th or the 10th house. Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008 till 2024. We have a whole soul group incarnating right now that has done a recent gender switch. And so we have this whole movement, okay? And it's, it's really tied in with, and then the Roe versus Wade in the United States, overturns this whole abortion. This is so Cancer, the womb, the women and the women's rights. Okay, and should we, is abortion legal or illegal? Is it moral or immoral? Is the way that we treat the trans people and the gay people and the queer people, is this, are we liberal or, are we Democrat, Republican? Are we this or that? Blah, 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 blah. We can go back and forth and back and forth. And what we're calling for and seeing is that the age of Aquarius, Uranus, Aquarius, 11th house energy, this awakened energy is stepping outside the game, outside the polarity. It's moving into the witness, the third eye, and it's seeing all the possible futures, all the possibilities. Yes, it could go extremely downhill into a totalitarian state, or we could have a massive rebellion and everyone, or we could, but there are an infinite number of futures awaiting us. But primarily, they depend upon what? Each single one of us. The more that each individual becomes their own authority, the more that we take hold of our consciousness, of our mind, and we are not unconsciously sapped into, sucked into, drawn into, manipulated into, coerced into, hypnotized into this or that or this or that or this or that. But we are the authors of our own lives. This is creative, using our energy creatively, consciously, constructively. And that brings me to, even though I could go on, we'll go into this week's mantra. The ever-changing answer to the question, who am I? Reminds me I am the author of the story of my life. This is a story. Let us not forget, we are eternal, infinite, spiritual beings having an earthly experience. This is Maya. This is a story. Don't make it real. Create your own. That's what I'm into. The parallel societies. We don't need to wait for a camp or a reservation. We make our own communities and we witness from outside the madness. What's going down, baby? Ow! Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, speaking of me talking, man, I'm getting ready to be taken off for Europe. My first presentation will be in Ibiza. I can't wait to go back there. It's one of my favorite places. Then up to Turkey and down to Greece, Denmark, the Netherlands, Glastonbury. Each place having a different energy. Each place having a different presentation, a different focus, a different workshop. It's about doing the work. This is the time to do the work. We need to gather together in live flesh and blood circles, yeah, and do this consciousness building, creative, energizing, supporting each other in self-realization together. I hope to see you. And if I don't see you, I hope you're getting together with your own friends. Which just reminds me, family. Boy, there's so many people dealing with so much family stuff. It's not just circles of people and like-minded souls. Let's understand we have karma. We have there is the cause and effect. There are consequences. What goes around comes around. From reincarnation, if you don't understand, okay, how or why you are being confronted and faced with, monumental energies or challenges at this particular time, a lot of them come through the family dynamic. And so Cancer really brings up, and it's the past, and the moon rules the past. And our habitual responses, our habitual patterns, our automatic unconscious reactions. We want to be really careful of this now. And we want to just not react, but proact. And, take it up and have this compassion for ourselves through this time period, knowing that it is emotionally trying, that every birth, most every birth involves, some real squeezing, some real pushing, some real will, some real, pain. And this can be a very painful time. And our hearts go out. Our compassion goes out. And we come together. Which brings me to the song for this week. I am all over the place today. It's my moon in Gemini, Venus on the moon, I guess. I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I've Got a Feeling by the Beatles, up on the rooftop in London, their last live appearance. The link is below in the notes on YouTube. Check it out. Ow! I've got a feeling. Cancer's got a feeling. We're all having feelings. Feel those feelings. They are the intrinsic, unique, authentic you. And it's from these feelings. Out of Cancer comes Leo. Out of these feelings comes creative self-expression. Feel it, own it, maybe cry about it, sink down into it, knowing that you will, just like the sun at midnight, rise again. The ever-changing answer to the question, who am I, reminds me I'm the author of the story of my life. May you write a good story. Namaste. Aloha. So much love.